You're listening to the PR Wind Down Podcast, the show for public relations professionals who are ready to see real change in the PR industry. We are your hosts, April White and Laura Schooler. Let's get ready to wind down.
Laura Schooler, are you shimmying for me? Oh, what is this dance move that's happening with all shoulders?
I'm actually trying to stretch my hip area. Who knew that sitting would cause my body to collapse, but it did.
All right. I think we're good then.
You have nothing to add? I never asked you because I'm an only child.
I'm going on vacation at the end of the week.
Where are you going?
Utah, Snowbird, Utah.
Because it's not ski season, obviously. So
no, you just sit there in the wilderness and experience the fresh air and look for moose. And
did I tell you my story going to Lake Tahoe with my parents?
No,
we never went on vacation. Maybe once or twice when I was 3. But what we did do is we would go to my dad's convention with his company. So we go to Reno, and my dad would work, and I won't bore you with the whole details, but after that, he would want to usually hang out for a day or two afterwards and not be working. That year, since we were in Reno, they decided that we were going to go to Lake Tahoe afterwards because it's in driving distance, right? So What do I know? We don't go to places like this. I don't go to places like this. And you're driving along the ledge and one false move and your car is plummeting 8,000 feet into the abyss or whatever. So We're driving along and you're looking up in the trees and the forest and everything, and it's amazing. And so my dad, there was a little pullover rest stop up on one of these ridges. He pulls over, and we get out of the car, and I look up and up at the mountains and these pine trees that looked like they were 800 feet tall. And you breathe in, and it's this evergreen, crisp air. And I've never smelled anything like it before. I was like, Dad, oh my God, do you smell that air? And he goes, yes, and it's making my throat itch. Get back in the car. We're going to the casino. And so we went to Caesar's Palace.
Oh my God.
And my parents went in the casino. That's their happy place. We never went to outdoor things. They had to be inside where they could be.
My parents are the complete opposite.
That's funny.
They do not want to go to New York City or LA. They will not go to a city. They only want to do nature things.
Yeah. The other time my dad and I sort of did a nature thing. It was a similar situation. I was younger though, and it was in Hawaii. And my dad and I decided we wanted to go in the glass boat, the glass bottom boat, so you could see the fish and stuff. And we went and we saw little sharks and stuff underneath us. And we come back and we walk in the room, and there's a family that we've never seen in our lives. And we're looking at the door and the number, and if you shut the door, and my dad goes back and he's like, I'm pretty sure this is our room. And the people were like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And we were total Twilight Zone.
Right.
I mean, so Twilight Zone, the Twilight Zone wouldn't even think of this. We have no idea where my mother is. We find her out on the beach with all of our belongings piled up. My dad had made a deal with the guy who owned it or ran it that usually you had to check out at 11 in the morning or whatever, on the whatever day it was, Friday. And my dad said, look, we're just getting here. I want to extend till, we'll leave, but we're not leaving till that night. Our plane takes off. It's a red eye, whatever. So can we stay until 8 o'clock at night? And the guy was like, sure. So that's why my dad and I went out and went to the glass bottom boat. And so my dad goes to the office. He's like, what the hell? You threw my wife with all of our stuff out on the beach. He's like, well, checkout's at 11. And my dad was like, what? Dude, we made a deal that I would stay later. And the guy was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Totally lied. My dad's I'm not paying. See, I'm not paying. I'm not paying you a cent. I can't believe you threw my wife out. We were in panic. We had no idea what was going on. And the guy called the cops. And so I'm in the rental car in the backseat crying. My dad's going to get arrested. He finally had to pay because he didn't want to go to jail.
So crazy.
So we just, that's what happens when we go out in nature. Bad things happen.
All right. On that note, should I let Jody in for today's interview?
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, Jody, how are you?
All right, April, Laura, how you doing?
Hi,
Good. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Is
Look
the
at you.
virtual background okay, or do you want me to be natural?
Try it natural.
Oh, she was very definitive on that.
I do have strong opinions about it, but I might.
Welcome to the PR garage.
Oh my God, I love it. Why were you
that's-
hiding this? This is
Right.
amazing.
This is
I was
actually
like-
my garage.
That's so funny. I was like, is that looks like it's so crazy that doesn't look real, but
Oh
it's
my
real.
God,
Oh, and he's
I
got
love
shorts
it.
on too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course, right? I got to look good from here up. Got to be respectable.
Are you sure there were shorts and not boxers? I didn't look carefully.
Oh, they're short. Oh, don't worry, they're shorts.
I've been teasing. I
Wait.
just love the idea of you being in boxers in your garage with like a sport
Oh
coat.
my God.
I'm
But
not
wait.
saying it hasn't happened. It's just
No
not
one
right
will
now.
ever know. Yeah.
But more the most exciting thing of all, do you know what I'm going to say, April?
Oh,
Yes, R2D2's in the back.
All right. We're not taping, right? I don't want to waste anybody's time
No,
here.
we are taping.
Ready?
Oh my God. You know what
stop.
that is? It's the Millennium Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon. Come on. And I have dice hanging from my rear view in my car.
Wow.
I am all
What?
in.
Just like
What?
Han Solo.
Yes. How y'all
No,
doing?
I love it. I love it. We're so good. We're even better now because you're a blast, which we knew you would be because you're friends with Molly.
Yes. Oh my God. It's so funny when the email came in and you guys name dropped Molly and Greg. And I was like, okay, these are good people.
I love it. All right. So our guest today is Jody Fisher. He is the founder of Jody Fisher PR. He's an award-winning publicist with 30 years of news and PR experience who started his career in news as a New York City radio reporter, which is why he has such a nice voice and such a nice microphone, I'm guessing. He's represented clients including the New York Post, Larry Silverstein, at the World Trade Center, the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum, and the Friends of the High Line, and managed events including a Pope's visit to the United States and the journey of a NASA space shuttle from Washington, D.C. to New York. So welcome, Jody. This is so fun.
Hello, April. Hello, Laura. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's such a blast already. I never do this to guests, but I feel like you can handle it. I just want to put you on the spot and ask you what you want to talk about.
Tough assignment. Anybody who knows me knows I'll talk about just about anything.
I sort of got that impression. That's why I was like, oh, throw him a bone, hit him in the face. He's got this. Like,
Well, let's start at the top, which is how to pitch media.
okay.
Because I talk about this a lot, and it's nothing new, but it always needs to be reinforced. Pitching media is storytelling. Media is storytelling, right? We're talking about earned media, but actually, whether you're talking about social, whether you're talking about owned, whether you're talking about earned. Media is storytelling. And so as PR professionals, we need to understand how to find the story in the client's work and then adjust that story to make it attractive to the type of media we're trying to pitch. And so I tap into my DNA. What you mentioned is where I started my career as a New York City radio reporter, being a storyteller on air, telling other people's stories. Now I've just flipped that into working with clients.
So your clients, I'm looking at your clients and they're a little bit consumer business.
Yeah, consumer business is a good way to describe them. Different vertical niches: healthcare, higher ed, financial services, nonprofits, construction and real estate. First of all, I like doing positive PR, right? I like telling positive stories. There are people like our friend Molly McPherson who lives in crisis all the time, right? And those people are great at it. That's not me. That's not my DNA. I like telling positive stories. I like sort of moving the needle on people's operations or their businesses and the way they impact their communities and the way they help other people. Because even though there's this pop culture image of reporters of, you wanting to dig up dirt or play gotcha or chase people around, and catch them in the act of something. The reality is the majority of reporters want to tell good stories about good people and good things that are going on in communities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like to do.
Jody, I'm so curious, what is the most creative you've had to be with a client to dig up a story? But
Oh,
like
wow.
what did it take? Do you know what I'm trying to ask?
I do. To me, I don't know if it's digging deep as much as it is seeing things from a different perspective. And I think that's a part of what we are trained to do and what we, forgive the phrase, get paid to do, right? We
Yeah.
get paid to look at it from the outside in. The biggest problem I find that clients have is that they're so close to things that they don't know it when they see it.
Mhm.
And because they're just doing it and they're doing their thing, and it takes someone like us a little bit on the outside of their organization to look at and go, hold on, that's a story, don't run past that so fast. We have the benefit, I think, of being just a half step removed from the organization. We're able to see things and leverage them in a way that is of benefit to the organization. I don't have one that jumps
Mhm.
to mind right now, but
That's
we do it all
okay.
the time.
April, you're asking like the tough interview questions,
I
like
know, I'm sorry,
job
but no,
interview.
but I'm like so curious. I'm also
Okay.
Where do you
curious,
see
like,
yourself in 5 years?
Right,
I
right.
know, I'm sorry. What is going on? Like, I don't know. I feel
What's
like
the
you can
biggest
handle
mistake
it.
you ever made, and then how did
No,
you fix it?
I'm not gonna do that, Jeff. No, but I was also curious, like, do you have tips for people when on the surface the client isn't presenting you with anything that seems very narrative friendly? Like, what do you do when your normal approach is sort of coming up
Sure. Yeah.
empty-handed? Yeah.
You know what I'll do? I'll practice what I call reverse engineering. So we know like the outlets maybe that they want to get in, right? Or the outlets that seem obvious that they want to get in,
Yeah.
and I'll use the local daily newspaper, here on Long Island, but it could be anywhere, right? I mean,
Newsday.
everybody's got the same version of this in their community.
Yeah.
You got the front of the paper, you got the business section, you got the food section, you got the life section, you got the sports section. So you sit with the client and you say, okay, do we have stories that look like these? And you literally pull the paper out and you hold it up and you say, do you have a story that looks like this?
Yeah,
If they can't think of anything, and they look at that thing and they go, oh yeah, we got a guy just like that.
right.
Or wow, I just ran into a thing, yeah, the other day, and boom, you're off to the races. So it's kind of like giving them something to envision,
I love
and
that.
if they can envision it,
Yeah.
that jumpstart their thought process, and then you can start having that conversation.
It's really
That's the
smart.
problem with nobody having the real paper anymore. It's harder to
Well,
do that.
right. Exactly. And TV is just as tough because now who really has the time to sit down and watch their nightly newscast? I don't. I'll be honest.
Right.
I don't. I'm grabbing all the clips from social media, and if I really need to sit down and watch every once in a while, I'll sit down and actually
Mhm.
watch the show all the way through because I'll say, okay, where is all this information falling? What
Mhm.
segments are they doing that I could then apply my clients to?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
have to consume the news you want to be in. There's no substitute for that.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I was gonna ask you if the approach to pitching has changed based on time and or the kind of outlet. Like if you're pitching a Substack writer, does it take a different approach than a podcast
Well,
person
I
or
well, the biggest tip, and this might be nothing new, but everybody needs more time now. There are fewer reporters, fewer outlets doing more jobs, and it takes longer to turn stuff around. So 20 years ago, if I was pitching a radio reporter, I might be able to pitch something, if it was breaking news, different story, but I might be able to pitch a radio reporter and it could be on the air in the afternoon. I pitch a radio reporter now, and that is the most instant of mediums. It's on maybe tomorrow, maybe in 2 days. They're booking interviews a week out. TV reporters are booking a week out. Okay, let me know about this story that's happening next Tuesday. They put it in their tickler file, when they wake up on Tuesday morning and they're pitched their desk. You got to be a week out, 2 weeks out. You got to give them
yeah.
plenty of time because they're doing so much. You need to be respectful of their schedules, of all the things that they have to get done. And if you do that, you are more likely to get a positive reaction, I find, because you're putting yourself in a position of being able to be considered more
Right.
effectively than someone who's coming at them and saying, hey, do you have time this afternoon to do an interview? The answer is 99% no. So
Yeah.
I would say build in
That's good
as
advice.
much time to your schedule as possible. Also, the other thing I'm big on is assets, not just the pitch, the words, right?
Mhm.
And the hyperlinks to the assets, but actual photos, actual video, social media handles. I mean, give them the social media handles, because inevitably, if they're doing a story, their digital desk is going to be putting something on their social media. You want them to link to the right account.
Yeah.
Don't make them try to find you on social
Right.
media. Give them the handle. And for assets, photo, and video, I stick it in a Google Drive. I give them a link. I say, here's the link to all the stuff. And I said this in a TikTok video the other day. Give them the stuff they need to do the job you're asking them to do.
I love that. Well, I know we've been asking you all of the questions, and I apparently have been interviewing you like you're up for a job or
Did I get the job? Did I get the
Yeah,
job?
100% you're hired. But with that, are there any questions that you'd like to ask us to turn the tables around?
I want to hear about the interaction that Laura had with James Barron, and I want to see if maybe you sort of tell the tale of the back and forth and how you did it.
Well, so I had, for a big business client, been trying to figure out how to get local New York City media coverage, and it was not working, because when I mean big business, I mean major, huge, big global company, and there just wasn't, this just wasn't a local story, and they weren't willing to tell a local story either. So I was so excited when my building that I live in was turning, or 101, but it was our centennial. We were celebrating because the pandemic threw us off. I was like, I finally will have something to pitch James Barron. So I wrote a pitch with information that I was given to by the woman who was chairing the whole celebration, of women on the board in my building. And I made a media list of like 6 or 7 reporters. And the funny thing is, I got the New York Times and New York One, but Upper West Side Rag never wrote me back.
Of course. Right.
Okay.
Makes total sense.
So I just emailed him like a written email pitch, as you do, and he wrote me back, like I said, in less than 95 seconds. And he said, "Yes, I'm interested. I'm busy this week. I'll get back to you on Monday." So I said, "Okay, thanks." So I'm have it in my head, all right, I got to get back to James Barron on Monday. Monday at 9:05 a.m., my cell phone is ringing, and it's James Barron. I've never experienced this in my life.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he says,
Jody knew this. He knew it. He knew this was okay.
Right, this is gonna be. So then,
I just love hearing it. Go.
So then we talked about, the story, etc. And he said, well, I'd love to come over, see the building. I might get a photographer. They might assign a photographer, which they did. And I brought him in, and I think he had an idea of what he wanted to do, but he wasn't stringent. He wasn't like he had a list of demands. He came, and me being a PR person, I sort of knew what he might be interested in. So I said, "You want to talk to some tenants?" "Yes." "Do you want to see some apartments?" "Yes." So we took him around the building. We, had him talk to some tenants who had lived here for a long time. Some tenants who own and have owned for a long time and have beautiful, like, read-on apartments. And then there's tenants who are still rent stabilized. They moved in the 70s and still haven't moved out. So he got like that whole mix. It was so New York and so Upper West Side in particular. And he spent, a good hour and a half here. I think he quoted me on that. He loved that I had no electrical outlet in my bathroom when I moved in. It had never existed. Nobody had ever blow dried their hair in the bathroom of my apartment until I renovated it and put in an electrical outlet. So I think he quoted that, because that's like, so New York City, and it's 2023 and there's no electrical outlet. So he loved that, and it was great. And I thanked him, and he was just like the easiest, nicest, most on it reporter maybe that I've ever worked with in my life.
He is such a classy guy, and he has the best quality that I think all reporters have, is that they are both curious, right? They want to ask questions because they legitimately want to understand, but he is also extraordinarily patient, I find.
Yeah.
That he's content to go very slowly and walk through the interactions that he's having with the people that he's talking with and really understand them. And that's the hallmark of an excellent reporter. The modern perception of journalism is that it's somehow either fast and loose, and let's set aside the people who are just making up, sorry, but
Right.
there's this perception that they're either out to get you, or they're fast and loose, or they're doing something wrong. Reporters are not like that. They are curious, interested, and committed people who really just want to do a good job. And the thing that bothers them the most is factual inaccuracy. And so turning that back to the job that we have is being factually accurate 1,000,000% of the time.
Yeah.
There is no room. My mentor, Howard Rubenstein,
Oh.
had a sign on his desk. Said, it was a quote from Mark Twain. It says, if you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything.
Right.
That is it in a nutshell for PR people.
Yeah.
Always tell the truth. That doesn't mean you don't represent your client with a full throat. It doesn't mean you're not telling their story, but you're telling it accurately and factually and honestly, because that's what the reporter needs to do. And so you need to respect that relationship. And if you do that, you will create long-term working relationships with individuals, with outlets, and with communities.
Sometimes people think they hire PR people and we go talk to our reporter friends and they just write whatever stories that we tell them to just because we know them. That's not how it really works. And similarly with that story about my building turning 100, I am a friend of Roger Clark from New York One. He doesn't just do stories. I mean, I've tried, believe me. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Right. But this story about my building on the Upper West Side and the architect being a renowned architect, I knew it was a real story and he took it like that too. But he doesn't take my other garbage when I'm just hoping he'll cover something. I knew that he would be interested in that one, and he was.
Of course. Yeah. Roger's another one of those terrific
Yeah.
reporters. That's kind of what people misunderstand, I think, about us too, is that, we go out for drinks with these people after work, right? And we hang around with them, and then we pull favors.
Right.
We don't. The best of us have relationships with these folks so that we can cut through the noise.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what the relationship with a reporter means, is that you have the ability to cut through the noise because you're a known quantity. They know who you are. They know what you're bringing them. They know it's at least worth a read, and still they might say no, and that's okay too.
Right. But you can cut through the niceties and the formalities and all that, and like get to the heart of the matter much quicker when you know reporters. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Jody, how can people find you? And anything you want to plug?
Anywhere on social, I'm at Jody Fisher, JodyFisher. Please check out my podcast, the PR Podcast. We do interviews just like this. We drop new episodes every Monday. And please pitch yourself to come on those shows. And if you have the need for a PR person in the New York City area, in any of those vertical, there you go, in any of those areas, consumer business, healthcare, higher ed, financial services, nonprofits, construction and real estate, and then just sort of a little smattering of everything else mixed in. Check me out on my website, jodyfisherpr.com. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, Jody. It was such a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Okay, so we have...
Oh, we've got a horror story, right? I don't think I've read one for a while.
Okay, let's hear it.
Are you ready to hear the horror story of the...
Ready!
Okay. Hi, April and Laura. I was confident about my decision to leave my agency job until I got this email. This was my first full-time agency job, and I worked as a junior account executive for the year and a half I was there. I had applied to a lot of jobs, and I wasn't necessarily passionate about this specific agency, but I needed the job after graduating. The first month was good, but then it went downhill. I worked in the lifestyle client group of the agency, and I've had 4 different direct managers. 2 left the company, and 2 were moved to other roles, and none of them had time for me. I was so overworked, and the culture was pretty messy / gossipy. It just didn't feel good, and I have been considering leaving for a while. But this last manager being replaced was the last straw. I guess because they don't have immediate plans to assign me to a new mentor, I'll figure it out. And I felt overwhelmed doing all of this senior work on my accounts without enough guidance or a consistent manager. So I started applying, saved up some cash, and I sent in a short but polite resignation email and 2 weeks notice. Then I got this from our chief people officer via email. She works in another city, but we all interact with her. Hi, I just want to say I'm disappointed. We saw potential in you and in Audrey, who was another girl who recently resigned. And we really spent a lot of time, effort, and money to give you a chance to grow here. As someone with a great deal more experience than you, I have some advice. If I were you, I would seriously rethink whether you can expect to find another role in this economy with your lack of experience. that is comparable to the opportunity we provided for you here.
Oh boy.
Some people are not cut out for PR. Perhaps it's time to consider what type of person you wish to be. I'm concerned that she is right and that my job prospects are going to be abysmal. Is this the best it gets? Should I try to go back? I've only been applying to new jobs for a month, but nothing has come through so far. Thanks for reading. Wow.
Oh my God.
Are you having flashbacks to like years gone by? Because I've heard versions of this.
I'm a little sweaty, I'm not gonna lie. Like my palms are sweating a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, that email is confirmation that that person needed to leave the job.
Yeah. Totally. If you had any doubt, you
Now
should have
you know
no doubt.
for sure that was the right
Right.
move. I guess my only advice to other people that are thinking of quitting right now without something in hand is maybe hold off until you find something, because it is a weird economy. That doesn't help this person whatsoever now because they already quit. But I would say anyone else listening that's sort of thinking about quitting, it might be a good moment to just have something in hand before you quit, unless it's toxic, right? If this
Right. I
was-
was going to say, however, if you work in the nightmare that it sounds like this person was working in, look, I did stay in places that were toxic because I was afraid to not.
Yeah.
I don't know that it benefited me in the long run. I was not in the right frame of mind. It might have kept me from finding my true calling or my true passion in PR. I'm not doubting. You know what? I've actually had two different people say that. Maybe this isn't the right occupation for you.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe it is, or maybe I could probably go do lots of things. So thanks, I guess, if you think I'm so wonderful and I can go off and become a reporter or who knows what.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't why. I don't think that was why they were saying it. They weren't like, you're so great, go be something more. They didn't like me working for them because I made them nervous, because they didn't appreciate my style of work. I think I have proved myself in the PR world since, and before, and during, and whatever. So don't let one person, and especially a chief people officer who's supposed to be a thoughtful, comforting resource, but this person was none of those things to you.
No.
Don't let one person threaten or scare you. They have nothing to do with you. They don't know you. This company sounds like they really didn't know you. They barely even associate with you. You had 4 different managers in, what, a year and a half? I mean, how did anybody know who you were or what you were doing? It was so inconsistent. So no, do not. And okay, so maybe you haven't gotten a full-time job yet. You can start, maybe you could get a freelance client. Maybe you can just go on Upwork, and it won't pay a lot, but maybe you can get like the ball rolling somehow to some freelance projects here and there. You don't have to have a full-time job. That is not the only option anymore. That's the other thing I want to say. It was the only option 25 years ago.
There's lots of freelance options now. I guess it also depends on where you are in your career, because I think it's easier to freelance if you're kind of in the middle of your career. But it's not a bad idea to consider all the options, especially if you're in a toxic spot. So I would say advice for this person, don't just rely on looking for full-time stuff, but start looking for freelance work.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, get on Upwork, look on LinkedIn.
A temporary job, part-time job. What do you want to do? You look, if you've only been working a year and a half, you're out of college. What are you, 23, maybe 24 at the most, if you graduated on time? I swear, you have the world is ahead of you. I want you to sit down and figure out what are the industries, the topics, the people, the things. What are you interested in? And again, you have the ability to like go and Google this stuff. I didn't have those options, 30 years ago. You looked in the New York Times at the help wanted pages, and that's how you got a job. Unless you had somebody like, your uncle could help you get a job with the lawyer down the street. There were so many fewer ways to get a job that when you got one, you were just like, oh my God, thank you for a job. There's so many more options, but I want you to go figure out what is it that you really want to be associated with, and what are the different ways you can go at that. Maybe you can even volunteer for stuff for a while, but then you'll get experience, and then you'll meet people, and you have to network. And I mean, start a sheet of people who you've met, and who they are and how you can contact them and what industries they're in, and keep those, and, LinkedIn and all of that, and go back to those people. I wish I could have done all of these things when I was your age.
I mean, it's good to know what your end goal is, to Laura's point, but also it's also just good to learn new stuff.
Yes.
And you
I
might end
agree.
up liking something that you didn't think you'd like. So don't be
Mhm.
too picky when it comes to the next step, because it's not just because the next step isn't your forever home doesn't mean,
Yep. 100%.
you're not trying to find a husband.
Well, that's
here,
the other
or-
thing. You're
or a
also
wife
not
or whatever. You just,
right.
you're just like learning something new. It's like, do you want to sign up for this class next semester? I mean, you have to look at it that way, not like
Yes.
you're
Agreed.
stuck there forever and now this is your life.
You also don't have to have one or two jobs for your whole life, which is what the resounding wisdom was in, the 90s. Like, get
Right.
this job and work your way up to be the CEO.
Right.
Start in the mailroom, and then one day you'll be running the joint. Like, that's just, that's like 1940s. I don't even know why.
Right.
That's
We're not there
so
anymore.
long. I'm so excited for this person. I wish I was them.
No, you don't. But sure.
I wish there was an alternative. What if you could have two versions of you?
I would like
and knowing
that.
what you know now, going back and being that age,
And then A/B test which one you should have done,
and seeing if you would come out
Like,
different, better, worse. Yeah.
go compare yourself to the parallel universe
Well,
you.
sure. Wouldn't you quit like so many jobs or so many boyfriends like that now instead of lingering for years?
I don't know. Maybe.
I hope I would.
It'd be interesting to see.
I hope I would.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in for the PR Wind Down podcast.
And thank you to Jody for joining us for a really great interview.
Remember to submit your own agency stories and questions and share a show with your friends and colleagues. If you subscribe and leave us a rating, it will help us reach new listeners like you.
Can't wait to wind down with you again next time. Well, and look, I got little cans now. I love them.
Oh, those are cute. Why do you have many Pepsi cans?
I like them because they're small.
What, so you drink less sugar? Is it like a...
Well, these are Pepsi Zeros. I mean, the joke is, of course, I probably drink more because I'm like, oh, they're so cute, and I like have 5 of them instead of, I would never do that with like a regular size. Like, I'd only have 1 probably. I think this is my 3rd today.
So it's not slowing you down. It's just cuter to hold.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, whoever did market research on that can design knows.
They're all over the place. Do they have them in Arizona?
I don't know. I don't drink soda.
But you never go in the supermarket and ever like, oh, look, they're so little.
No. I don't.
I shouldn't drink it.
It's cute though.
So
is that everything that's new in your world is the miniature Pepsi cans? Okay. All right.